Something unexpected has slipped into our solar system, and for a long time it went almost unnoticed. At first glance, it looked ordinary, just another dim object drifting against the starfield. But as astronomers continued to track it, subtle details began to emerge, and those details refused to behave the way they should. This was not a typical comet. It was not an asteroid. It was something older, something forged far beyond our Sun, now passing through our cosmic neighborhood for the first time in human history. As the object moved inward, telescopes began to see changes that shouldn't have been there. A faint glow appeared around it, then intensified into a vivid green halo. That color wasn't random. It matched the spectral fingerprint of diatomic carbon, but at a strength rarely seen even in the most active comets. Then came the tail, or rather, the problem with the tail. Instead of stretching away from the Sun, pushed back by solar radiation, this one pointed toward it. An anti-tail. At first, astronomers suspected a trick of perspective, a line-of-sight illusion. But observatories across the globe and in orbit all saw the same thing. The structure stayed stable, night after night, week after week. Soon after, something even more surprising appeared in the data. Space-based instruments detected X-rays radiating from the object's surrounding cloud, stretching across distances larger than some planets. X-rays don't come from cold debris. They form when energetic solar wind slams into dense, active gas. While this process has been observed in a few solar system comets, it had never before been confirmed from an interstellar visitor. This single detection was enough to place the object in entirely new territory. When scientists analyzed its chemical output, the mystery deepened. The object was releasing methanol and hydrogen cyanide continuously, both molecules closely tied to prebiotic chemistry. These are not rare in space, but the ratios were wrong. They didn't match anything seen in comets born around our Sun. Even stranger was what barely showed up at all. Water vapor, the backbone of cometary activity, was almost missing. Less than 1%. That alone shattered expectations. A chemically active object, rich in complex organics, poor in water, and active far from the Sun where most comets remain frozen. Whatever environment created this thing was nothing like ours. Then came its motion. Precise tracking revealed that gravity alone could not explain its path. Something was nudging it, accelerating it ever so slightly but consistently. Normally, this would be explained by jets of gas firing away from the Sun. But here, the jets appeared to be aimed toward it, feeding the anti-tail instead of opposing solar pressure. Even more puzzling, these emissions held steady directions despite evidence that the object itself was tumbling unpredictably. In natural systems, rotation scrambles order. Here, the structure held. Its trajectory added another layer of discomfort. The object followed a retrograde path, cutting against the normal flow of planetary motion, while staying remarkably close to the plane of the planets. It passed near Venus, Earth, and Mars in sequence, like it had slipped through a narrow corridor carved into the inner solar system. Statistically, this kind of alignment is rare. Not impossible, but rare enough to make scientists pause and check their assumptions. As it continued inward, its brightness began to pulse. Not flicker randomly, but rise and fall in a steady rhythm, roughly every 16 hours. The light didn't come from the solid body itself, but from expanding clouds of gas that inflated and faded like slow breaths. This suggested localized regions turning on and off as the object rotated, behaving less like chaotic cracks and more like organized vents. By this point, the data had outgrown easy explanations. This interstellar visitor wasn't just drifting through. It was reacting, emitting, accelerating, and reshaping the space around it. And as it moved closer to Earth, As the object approached the Sun more closely, its behavior became harder to ignore. Instead of simply growing brighter, its color transformed. Observations showed a shift from darker, reddish tones into an intense green glow driven by carbon-based emissions. But what truly stood out was the timing. The brightness followed that same repeating cycle, steady and persistent, as though internal regions were activating in sequence. Natural comet activity tends to spike and fade unpredictably. This did not. The consistency suggested structure beneath the surface, not randomness. Light reflecting off the object told an equally strange story. Measurements revealed unusually high linear polarization, far beyond what is typical for dusty, icy bodies. This kind of signal usually points to a surface that is smooth, compact, or even metallic in nature. It's the difference between light scattering off powdered snow and reflecting off polished stone. What made this unsettling was the fact that the signal didn't change over time. Whatever the surface was made of, it wasn't eroding the way cometary material should. When astronomers reconstructed its path through space, the improbability stacked even higher. The object's arrival direction and trajectory appeared finely tuned, slipping through the inner solar system while remaining faint enough to avoid early detection. Space-based instruments spotted it long before most ground-based surveys had a chance. While no one claims intention, the geometry alone is uncomfortable. Nature produces chaos, but optimized-looking paths demand scrutiny. Trailing behind the object, the anti-tail revealed further surprises. Some data suggests it may not be a simple stream of gas at all, but a collection of fragments or substructures moving together. These features appear repeatedly across different instruments, hinting that the object might be shedding material in a controlled or persistent way. If confirmed, this would mean the visitor isn't a single body, but a system, however loosely bound. Another anomaly lies in its sustained activity far from the Sun. Long before solar heating should have mattered, it was already active, releasing gases and forming a coma. This implies either extremely volatile materials, an internal heat source, or processes not yet accounted for in current models. Energy like this doesn't come for free. Something is driving it. The chemistry adds a philosophical weight to the mystery. By dispersing complex organic molecules along its path, the object raises serious questions about how life's building blocks move through the galaxy. Its close approaches to multiple planets mean that, in theory, it could distribute this chemistry across different worlds. In that sense, it behaves less like debris and more like a courier, carrying ancient material from another star system into ours. As it nears Jupiter's gravitational domain, the stakes increase. A small push at just the right moment could dramatically alter its future, either ejecting it from the solar system or bending its path inward. The geometry of this encounter resembles the gravitational assists humans use to steer spacecraft. No claims are made, but the resemblance is difficult to ignore. One of the most controversial discussions surrounding the object involves its apparent alignment with the region of the sky associated with the famous WOW signal detected decades ago. The overlap falls within a narrow margin of error. Alone, it would mean nothing. Combined with everything else, it becomes another data point that refuses to stay quiet. Physically, the object appears elongated, almost teardrop-shaped, unlike the loose rubble piles common in comets. Its surface seems hardened, processed by eons of radiation in interstellar space. This is not something shaped quickly. It is something sculpted by time on a scale we struggle to comprehend. Perhaps the strangest behavior remains the stability of its jets. Despite chaotic rotation, emissions maintain fixed orientations, as though channeled through internal structures. In natural systems, rotation smears order into noise. Here, order persists. At some point, labels stop working. This object doesn't fit comfortably into any category we have. Each anomaly could be dismissed on its own, but together they form a pattern that challenges the foundations of how we understand interstellar space. This may not be artificial. Caution matters. But it may represent something just as profound. A class of objects shaped by environments we've never studied, carrying chemistry, structure, and behavior forged far beyond our sun. When it leaves, the questions will remain. And after this visitor, we may never again assume that what drifts between the stars is simple, silent, or inert. The universe has a way of sending reminders. Sometimes, it sends one straight through